Hello, everybody. Welcome to our day early comic review video. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So every Tuesday, after we're done bagging and boarding and sorting all the comics, we divide up the ones we think most people want to hear about, and we do these. We try to keep them concise, but sometimes we go a little overboard.
We're excited.
Spoiler light reviews. And I got to tell you, this is a big week.
Yes.
It's like DC decided to release every annual all at once. Plus, Venom #2 is out. We got some big indie books this week. So we just got to launch into it. So buckle in. We got some cool stuff to tell you about. You're going to need this prep before you go to the comic shop tomorrow or whenever you go next.
Yeah, a lot of these books are ones that we would have been like our big featured ones, but there's so many big ones. It's like those we'll only have to briefly go through. A lot of these annuals are really big deals, but let's start with a big one that everyone's been anticipating. The follow-up to Infinite Frontier. This is Justice League Incarnate #1. So this is, like I said, the follow-up to Infinite Frontier. It's by Joshua Williamson. And this picks up right where the previous series left off. So we know that Darkseid has some big scheme about kind of breaking out of the multiverse into the omniverse. That was kind of the new buzzword from that last series. And there is a crack. And this is one of those like really esoteric big concept ideas of like there's this crack, but because it's for the multiverse, it's always moving, and they got to find where the crack is. But what's fun about this is it actually begins on Earth 8, which is the DC version of the Marvel universe.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is the funniest one. Like the Hulk is called Big Baby, and he's a big blue baby, and they even make a joke in this one that he says something, and one of the other members is like, I'm really glad you're now intelligent, Big Baby, and stuff. Like, they're doing the whole arc of like Hulk becoming intelligent Hulk.
Professor Big Baby.
Yeah, he's sipping tea on a balcony. Of course, there's like your Captain America character. There's Falcon. There's all of these, and what's really cool about this issue is I already saw an article about it already today. This has your equivalent of a big throwdown between Darkseid and the DC's Marvel Universe version of Thanos. Oh. They make so many jokes about like he's not on the cosmic quest, but it's like the infinite something, and it's all these Marvel parody jokes. So that's part of it. A lot's going down on that Earth, but also the Flash that was introduced not too terribly long ago. She wears like the purple costume and everything. She is brought into the Justice League Incarnate. I forgot her name at the moment, but they are now going to attempt to find this crack in the multiverse before Darkseid does. And we know already that each issue is going to be a different artist, kind of interpreting whatever world they're going to. It's a really action-packed issue. It's a lot of fun. I love seeing all the weird versions of characters. There's just it's very lighthearted, but definitely your event book feel of big stuff is going down in this. So I really enjoyed it. I'm very much anticipating the next one to see where their multiverse hopping escapades go next, because there's some really cool stuff brought up in this about, you know, where's Barry Allen, what's been going on with him since we kind of lost him in the multiverse. But yeah, you'll have to read it to check it out.
Isn't there a first appearance?
Oh, I can't believe I completely skipped over that. Yeah, I was so excited about weird Marvel DC Universe. There is a new character, Dr. Multiverse. And she is, at first so she's from Earth 8. That's like her home universe. And she's a little bit of Captain Marvel. You get a little bit of that feel that she's maybe based a little bit on her. But she has a very interesting ability. Something happened to her. There's like a little backstory. It's kind of unimportant just to know her powers. But she can look at someone and see every iteration of them. So she looks at President Superman, but around him are all the different. There's the death metal version of him. There's the Superman that can't fly, but he leaps tall buildings. But it's interesting what happens when she looks at Darkseid.
Hmm.
And if you know anything about some of the weird stuff going on with Darkseid from Infinite Frontier, it's really interesting. But that is the big character to come out of this. People are already talking about. It's kind of an interesting representation of the multiverse in a person.
Hmm.
Really cool. We have also this variant by Fornes. And there is a big, I believe it's a 1 in 25 variant with Dr. Multiverse. I can't want to say Captain Multiverse. Dr. Multiverse that we are already sold out of, but be on the lookout for that one.
So you were talking about how they have different artists lined up to
Mhm.
do the different books, and thus, you know, as much as it'll be a multiverse thing, it'll also be reflected in the art.
Yeah, I really like that idea. Especially like there's some Jack Kirby bits in this. I'm like, I really hope you bring in somebody who does a nice Jack Kirby spin on some of the characters.
So another DC book that is using multiple artists this week is Fear State Omega. So this is the end of Fear State. This is also the official end of James Tynion's epic run on Batman. And I also sort of declare this is pretty much the end of Future State, I think, from reading it. So as far as the multiple artists, there are 5 different artists on this book. This is, you know, sort of a larger size end cap book. And so there are different tales being told that all relate together because Scarecrow is being taken to prison, but you know how that goes. The villain never quite makes it there without
Yeah.
some drama happening. During this drama, Batman and Scarecrow get to have a long discussion where they talk about all the different characters that were in Fear State. Really, a lot of it is Batman kind of letting Scarecrow know, oh, here's what happened with this person. Here's what happens with this one. They also discuss the characters in general, where they fit in. It's done very well. But during these discussions, the art shifts based on who we're talking about. So you get to see, I mean, talk about an end cap issue. This will let you know what happens with every single major character in Fear State. Pretty much everybody James Tynion's come up with, almost. Although I wouldn't say there's much on Punchline. But you get the final fate of Simon Saint. You get to find out what happened with him. You get to know what's going on with Peacekeeper 01 by the end of it. You get to know what's going on with Miracle Molly, what's going on with the rest of the Unsanity Collective. They're not necessarily connected anymore. You'll have to read to see what happens with them. Even Next Batman gets brought up in this. Next Batman is discussed in this very briefly, and that's why I think that this is sort of the end point of Future State. I feel like DC has done what they can to sort of catch it all up and go, okay, there we go. See, it happened. The Future State thing happened. Simon Saint happened. The Magistrate happened. I have been wondering in the past videos before this one if Simon Saint wasn't going to get away or whatever. It doesn't really go down like that. It goes down like an end of a story, is what I have to say. There's also a large conversation with Clown Hunter. Batman talks with Clown Hunter about his future. Ghostmaker's there. You get to figure out see what's going to happen with Ghostmaker. You get to see what's going on with Harley and Ivy and the Gardener. All of this in this issue. You know, everyone, all the major characters get at least 2 pages of, and here's what's going on with them now that Fear State is over. So I thought it did a really good job of wrapping everything up. There's really no loose ends to this unless you are trying to connect, well, where does Future State come in?
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. You know, that happened a while ago. Let's just move on with the DC Universe, I think, is sort of what this is decrying. But anyway, good end issue by James Tynion, who really cares a lot about all these characters he's created. He cares about the situation and also how the situation, how Fear State has affected them moving on. And I hope the next writing and creative team can do as good of a job. So we have this Bianchi variant. And we have the 1 in 25 Jimenez variant that we're selling to our customers for $20. And you see on there is Ivy. You got Miracle Molly on there as well. But yep, Bon Voyage, James Tynion. I will be talking more about him one more time later in the show, though. It's just for something that doesn't relate to Fear
Me
State
too.
so
I've
much.
got one as well. Yeah, it's interesting that we knew he could do he did these characters, he created these characters, but at some point you've got to let them go and let other people take control of them. And I'm wondering what's going to happen with if he talked with anybody about where I leave these pieces, what I had my ideas for them, or is it like, I put this person over here, this person over here, now someone else take it and run with it. It'll be interesting to see.
I'll say one thing: of at least one, if not two, of his characters could find themselves having something to do with Suicide Squad.
Wow.
So
I mean, I could see all of them
have to read to
fitting
find
pretty
out
well.
who and how.
So my next one is a new book from famed creator Mark Millar. This is King of Spies, with art by Matteo Scalera. And this is really cool. So, I mean, I feel like everything Mark Millar does, I mean, it's not really a shock that it feels like a TV show or a movie. That's kind of always been his writing style, and now that he has a deal with Netflix, everything's kind of tailored that way. But I appreciate that the comics are still really good. It's not like this is a script and someone throws some art on it and put it out in there. No, this actually is a very concise thing. And what I like about his stuff is it's very understandable. It's a simple premise, but played through to see how it goes. So in King of Spies, we have I wrote down the coolest of the cool spies. I mean, this is your Uber version of James Bond, where at one point, like, this lady's like in labor in the back of an ambulance, but then our hero Roland, the secret agent, is back there too, and like he saves the baby, and he's like, I think Roland's a pretty good name, as things are like exploding around him. Like, he is that kind of hard drinking, womanizing secret agent. Well, this basically brings up the thing of like, okay, let's jump 40 years. What's this guy doing?
Mm-hmm.
And turns out all that hard living and action and everything, especially the drinking, comes back to bite you after a while. And so now he's not, I wouldn't say he's washed up. It's not that kind of story, but he's just slowing down. His life is kind of, it's no longer that high action movie, but he's now coming to terms with maybe some of the stuff he did and the things he set up and the kind of organizations he worked with are not what he wants his legacy to be. And I won't say what it is, but there is now a ticking clock involved in it. And this is kind of your old man James Bond.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, old man James Bond making things right.
Worried about his legacy.
The people that he was surrounded with, kind of his supporting cast, are either dead or have moved on to other things. But he's still got that kind of twinkle in his eye of like, my family's always smoked this brand of cigarette and stuff, and it's like, well, that's probably killing you at this point. But he's still got his order at the bar and the things he loves. But now it's that kind of, what is he gonna do now? So I really liked it. The art is awesome. I love Matteo Scalera's art. It's very fun. It's very energetic. It's not, you can get your crime stuff that's very like Brubaker, Sean Phillips kind of spy espionage. This is way more like AAA movie action blockbuster. And I think people will really like this. And of course, this feels like it could be a movie or TV show announced at any point.
And it quite possibly will be.
Yeah, so here's our main character on this cover. This is the Yildirim variant. That's rolling. That's like rolling like not quite to the age he is in the book. That's like maybe a few years after his prime. Then we have, of course, we have a black and white sketch version of the Matteo Scalera cover. You can see like there's Cobb's cigarettes on there, and that's like his like brand that he's always going on about. Then we have the Trillo variant. I love all these like cool designs and everything. This could be the cover of like an Ian Fleming novel.
Yeah, I totally see that.
And finally, we have the blank sketch cover to draw who you think is the king of spies. Is it the black spy from Spy vs. Spy or the white spy? Those are my favorites.
I like to think it's Cobb cigarettes. It's probably a placeholder for Chesterfield's, the one
Yeah.
that always do the commercials for Twilight Zone commercials. And
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
the
It has that
Chesterfields.
feel of like he like kind of looks at the camera and makes a comment about them. So
All right, so I read Venom #2, another huge book out this week. So this is a Dylan-centric issue. That is what I'll say about it. Last issue ended with something very climactic occurring to a major character, and they do address that. They no punches are pulled. That's what I'll say, because I don't want to ruin it for anyone who didn't read the first one. But what you saw at the end of issue 1 really, really happened, and they don't go back on it at all. The story moves forward. In fact, they confirm it, and the story moves forward. So in this one, Dylan goes on a road trip with Sleeper. Sleeper is the symbiote that is usually in the form of a cat these days. And they're off looking for an old associate of his father's back when he was a reporter. You know, Eddie's done so many things. It's like easy to forget. Oh yeah, he used to just be a reporter, and he probably knows other reporters from back
he spent
then.
more of his life as Venom than he has as a reporter, but that was a small part.
Yeah, so Dylan and Sleeper go on a road trip to go find Eddie's old reporter friend for a certain reason. And this character, this reporter friend, it is a first appearance. They will appear in this. It is their first appearance for people who like to collect all that stuff. That I can confirm. Past that, Senator Crane is back. Now, those of you who read all the symbiote stuff or watch our show, you might know who Senator Crane's from. He's from Extreme Carnage, that whole series. So yeah, in that his father, he kind of set him up to die in a way, so that he could become senator. And it seemed like, oh well, that's all over. No, it's not over. He's back in Venom, and he is now, of course, a senator, and he has declared that he's going to try to protect the human race from symbiotes. So that's what he's up to. And of course, he is sleazy and slimy and has much to do with Carnage.
Yeah.
So we don't see any Carnage in this, and we don't know if Carnage is still with him. I don't know why he wouldn't be.
I don't know why we'd bring this character back in if we weren't
Correct.
alluding
So
to that.
That's a pretty big deal, and I'm really happy because I thought Extreme Carnage was a lot of fun, a really good read. Past that, the Life Foundation seems to be making a comeback. So the Life Foundation is where all the other symbiotes came from originally, way back, I guess, when was that? Like, I guess early 90s is when they wrote about the Life Foundation. So, I mean, they've been referenced since, but it seems like they're really going to be making a comeback. Past that, as stated, is a very Dylan-centric issue. Don't expect to see a lot of Eddie Brock in this one, but that's just sort of how this series is going to go. So, Venom #2, really good second issue, clipping along quite nicely. A lot of surprises, a lot of cool characters. So, very happy with it. Here is the variant by Ed McGuinness.
Good look at Venom's feet. Right there.
He's got his new chains. He doesn't use the chains much so far. Mostly they're just there to look cool.
Yeah, kids love chains.
Yeah. And then here is the local comic shop day variant. So this just arrived. Local Comic Shop Day was last Wednesday, but because of printing delays, they did not make it on time. So if you've already been out for your local comic shop day, you want to come back out to grab this guy right here, which is done by John Boy Myers. And then we have a 1 in 25 U variant that we're selling to our customers for $25. Good to have some Venom coming in and not delayed. Like I read issue 1 and issue 2 is already here.
Yeah, that's what's good. I'm hoping Hulk stays on that trajectory as well.
Yeah.
Okay, my next thing is your Star Wars corner of fun. So first off, we have Darth Vader number 18. And we are still dealing with the Crimson Dawn fallout. Of course, we are past War of the Bounty Hunters, but we're getting close to Crimson Reign, the big event. And so this is kind of a bridge between those. And Vader, now that he knows that there are kind of spies or agents within the Empire that are actually Crimson Dawn affiliates, he wants to hunt them all down. And in this, he is going to put together a team of kind of the ruffians of the galaxy to help him hunt them down. So there are first appearances. I very much believe that they could die at the first scene of the next issue. This is a Vader series. Vader's not going down, but everyone around him is. So there are some cool first appearance characters in here, but I think the majority of them are not even named, so we'll have to see about that. But really cool issue of Darth Vader.
Yeah, unless your name is Afra, few people make it out of the Vader series.
And if you do, congratulations, you get your own book.
You get your own book.
Next up, we have Star Wars Bounty Hunters. And on the front, why does everyone look sad? Well, they all believe that Valance is dead after the events of War of the Bounty Hunters. I don't know why fellow bounty hunters would be too upset about that. He was more competition. And I'll say in this, that, even in the beginning, it's like, and now they mourn his loss. No one's mourning in this. This is different than that. But we saw at the end of that Valance is now, he wakes up with Vader, and all his like mechanical parts are human again. And we find out, what did Vader do to him to now kind of keep him under his control. And it's very interesting, very cool. And then lastly, we have Star Wars High Republic Adventures number 11. Just another entry in the High Republic series. So want you to be aware of that. And then here's some of the variants. So we have the Darth Vader variant. This one's really cool. This is the Ken Lashley variant with Ochi on there. Next we have the Lucasfilm 50th anniversary. This time we have a Rogue One cover, which is really cool. There is a Darth Vader Lucasfilm variant, but we are sold out of it, but it has Poe on it.
Edgar Allan, I'm sure you're talking about.
Yes, Edgar Allan Poe and his X-Wing. Then we have the Bounty Hunters variant. And lastly, we have the 1 in 10 Lu variant for Star Wars High Republic Adventures that we are selling to our customers for $15.
All right, so there is a new Bad Idea comic out this week. Bad Idea has also been experiencing delays along with most of the rest of the industry. This is what they call a double one-shot, as in it is 2 one-shots in the same issue. It is called Refuse and Last Resorts.
It's like a double-barrel shotgun. It has 2 stories with one pull of the trigger.
And they are very, very different stories, which delights me. I'm really glad that it's different stuff. Both very high quality, good stories with great art. The first one is called Refuse. It's by Margaret Savage and Matt Kent. And in that story, It is about, first off, the art is just beautiful.
Oh
Of that
yeah.
first one. The art just, I just couldn't stop like going back and looking at some of the panels. But it's about this young woman who wakes up on a strange alien world. She doesn't seem to know where she is, but she has no one to talk to, so you, the reader, have to follow along with the art.
Mm.
There is talking in it later on, but it's definitely a discovery tale of why is she on this planet, who is she, uh, can she get away? Does she even know what's going on? That story was really cool. By the end, you get all of the answers, but like a good indie book, they're not handed to you easily. I mean,
Mm.
I really had to give this some thought to figure out what really happened in the end. So, excellent A story. The secondary story is called Last Resorts, and the art to it is a lot um, more like darker, more scraggly.
Hmm.
It's not all that like stunning, beautiful art. It's more like the indie, like we do what we want art. And this tale is very different. It has a lot of dialogue. It has a lot of dark humor. It is also set in the future, but it's within a
Hmm.
society. Doesn't say if it's Earth or not. Seems to be Earth. In fact, yeah, it's Earth because he talks about the moon. I mean, I know other planets can have the moon, but I'm pretty sure it's Earth. So it's set in the future, and there is this character who's just sort of a loser. He doesn't have a job, doesn't have a lot of friends, and a company is offering a free trip to the moon or any other destination. There's a few destinations you can go to, but you get teleported there. It's new technology.
Mm.
And he's just like, I have nothing going for me. I always wanted to go to the moon. I'm going to do this. So, as you can expect, nothing that good is free.
Mm.
He does get what he wants, but what is it really doing? What's the science behind it? And what does he discover is actually going on? There's a lot more to that story. There's some friends he meets. There's a whole bunch that goes on in it that I'm not going to go into, but just a fun, weird one shot tale. And I felt like both of them were oversized too. I think each one was probably at least 30 pages.
Wow. So that's a
So,
big book.
yeah, so that is the new one from Bad Idea. It just has the A cover, no variant. So I'd also like to mention from Bad Idea, those of you who have been reading Pirate Queen, issue number 3 of that is also out this week.
You're a big fan of Pirate Queen, the other ones you read of
Yeah.
it, so that's
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, we had so much to read this week. I'm going to read this one later in my spare time, but just wanted people to know we're keeping up with all the Bad Idea stuff that it is here.
So, attention all mythology nerds, which I'm one of them. Growing up, I loved reading. I read the Odyssey when I was way too young to read the Odyssey. I loved everything about Greek mythology and Roman and Egyptian and Norse, everything. And talk about fitting that hole in my life I didn't know I had. This is Wonder Woman Historia Amazon's #1. So as you can see, this is your Prestige Plus sized book. This is by Kelly Sue DeConnick and Phil Jimenez. This has been in the works for a very long time. I remember them talking about this years ago. And when you read it, I mean, it may have been delayed, but also I can imagine the art took that long. I'll have to show you some pages in a second because this is a wonder to behold. Very much the same feeling of when I opened Echolands, when I was like, "Whoa, this is that next tier of art that's like, in this like every page could almost be a 12-foot painting of this like opulent Greek scene and everything. This is really cool. So this is a retelling of the origins of the Amazons, going back all the way to the kind of sphere of the gods. Now, this has very little to do with the DC universe. I will even say that Wonder Woman does not appear in this entire issue. So that's how far back this goes. This is telling you the story of them, and it mostly follows the female gods like Hera, Artemis, like a whole I know it pulls in Demeter and Hestia, uh, Hecate, all of them as they confront Zeus, Poseidon, Ares, Hermes, all of them, basically saying, "Hey, why did you make mankind so horrible? Like they're doing horrible things. They are, it goes through all this thing of what they're doing to women, and basically they come to him and say, "Hey, I think you should destroy them." And Zeus is like, "With a flood?" And they're like, "No, calm down." Or the Poseidon says that, like, "Calm down, Poseidon. We don't mean that." Um, but basically, that is denied, and the gods go off to basically make their own people, and thus the creation of the Amazons. Now, that is a very truncated version of this story, because the art in this feels like you are seeing another realm, another kind of the palace of the gods. It is so like vibrant and interesting. So it does have a very big feel of um, kind of your classic like history books with just crazy big art. Let's see, where's it's like the sixth. So like you have this 2-page spread of Hera that is just crazy to look at. It gives you a lot of great kind of behind the scenes on who these characters are, what their things are. All the designs for the gods are completely different than what we've seen in DC continuity before. So if it wasn't for some of the names later on in it, you wouldn't even, you'd think this is maybe a image book or something about that. Also, at the end of the book, you get these really cool kind of biographies and creation of these different characters and why they look the way they do in this. And so it says that the next issue will be out in spring. So I feel like this is going to be a long-term series that's going to definitely... I don't know how many issues it's going to be, but you can tell it's going to cover large swaths of time in the history of the Amazons. I really enjoyed it. It's funny. It's kind of my pick of the week because it is so interesting. What I really like too is the art is very intricate and complex, but the dialogue and the writing is minimal. I feel like if you have both, like a lot of dialogue and very heavy artwork, you get really overwhelmed. This is a nice kind of letting the artwork lead a lot of it. So that is Wonder Woman, Historia, the Amazons #1.
There's a lot of Wonder Woman this week.
Yes. And then we have the variant by Oliver Coipel.
Because I'll be getting the Yara Floor Wonder Girl later. You'll be doing
Wonder Woman Annual
later. So, but while we wait on that, Batman 2021 Annual. So this is also written by James Tynion. So even though I said that Fear State Omega was Tynion's last for Batman as far as Fear State, he did write this annual. And I think you will agree with me because this is a Ghost Maker book. That's what this is. So Batman is in it. Batman is talking with Ghostmaker, but this is largely 90% a Ghostmaker book, which I think is cool. I want Batman and everything, but you can't just have 100% Batman. You got to see what's up.
No one can handle 100% Batman
with his allies. And so you know how in Batman, throughout Tynion's run, they've been doing B stories, and for a while they were doing stories from Ghostmaker's past where they would introduce villains. This one, Ghostmaker tells a tale of where he had to go up against all of them. So it was cool to see all these villains that I knew about from those B stories get to really shine in this neat story. So it starts with Batman and Ghostmaker talking about what they do and why they do it. And they're in the middle of some action too. You'll get to see what they're doing. And Ghostmaker basically asked Batman, he's like, "What's your greatest feat?" And Batman's like, "I don't really think of things that way." And Ghostmaker's like, "Oh, you're dumb. I do all this for feats. I try to top my greatest feat every time." And Batman's like, I think of the cases. That's what I think. I remember
Mm.
the cases, the ones where I helped people, the ones I couldn't solve. And so Ghostmaker's like, "Yeah, okay, well, let me tell you my greatest feat, and then maybe you'll catch on to what I'm doing here." So that's what most of the story is Ghostmaker telling Batman this epic story of going up against his worst villains all combined. The art style, of course, has sort of a manga edge to
Mm.
it, leaning even more into it because of Ghostmaker's origin, and all his villains are just sort of
Mm-hmm.
that style. Um, and so I think by the end of the issue, Batman, if not also the reader, kind of understands Ghostmaker just a little bit more. I will say, in my opinion, you'll have to read it for yourself to see. I think Batman does win the argument, though, of what's a better way to think of being a hero.
Yeah.
So it's not that Batman's totally forgotten this. I think he does actually win the conversation,
Mm.
but yeah, that's my opinion on it. So there is a variant out for it this week. We are out of the variant, so just the A cover to show off right now.
My next one is it was talked about quite a bit. This is Sir Edward Grey Acheron #1. This is just a one shot, and this is from the Hellboy universe. And what makes this so big? It is written and drawn by Mike Mignola.
Yeah.
He has not worked on done the writing and the art on anything since the last issue of Hellboy in Hell, which was years ago now.
Years back. Yeah. He's
Um,
taking a much needed rest
yes.
from all that he created.
There's been stuff since then, but it's been co-written, and he hasn't done the interior art on a book since then. So this is really cool. This does pick up. It's hard to with Hellboy. Everything is very, in Hell. It's like who knows how much time has passed since that ended, but it takes place in Hell with Sir Edward Grey, who has been kind of a long-running supporting character through the Hellboy mythos, as he kind of confronts one of Hellboy's old villains about what are you going to do now that Hell has changed and you don't really have a place in it anymore. That's a very simple way of putting it because a lot has happened. Hellboy is not in this issue. He is talked about quite a bit because of kind of the stuff that he did, bringing down all of the leaders of Hell, and now there's even like the Lake of Fire has cooled off, and you even see one of the places from Hellboy in Hell, and it actually looks like a pretty nice place. So it's really funny. But what's big about this is it's teased that this demon that Sir Edward Grey is talking to references that he has another master and that he is coming. And then at the very end, it is teased what is next for this Hellboy universe installment, which is really big because other than this, it's kind of been over for quite a while.
It wound down.
BPRD ended, Hellboy ended, and they've kind of been doing the other universe.
Lobster Johnson stories.
Yeah, if they've done anything, it's been kind of flashback stories, but this is actually moving the story forward. I mean, this is a beautiful book. As I was reading it, I'm like, I can't wait to read this again and just look at it. Because, I mean, Mignola is one of those, like, many people try to copy, but no one can actually pull off what he does. This simplistic, just minimal lines that evoke so much mood is incredible. So if you're a fan of Hellboy, like the classic Hellboy stuff that Mignola worked on, you'll definitely want to pick this up. It has, you sink right back into that easy chair of classic Hellboy stuff, even though Hellboy isn't in it. So that is Sir Edward Grey Acheron #1. And then we have the variant. For that one as well.
Okay, so I read Avengers #50, which in legacy numbering makes it Avengers number 750. This issue is very big. It is more than double size, and Jason Aaron throws everything into this issue. It might be easier for me to tell you what's not in this issue, but that wouldn't be as fun. So let me tell you what is in this issue. There is the first full appearance of the Avengers in the Multiverse. There is the Avengers of 1 million BC. And I don't mean these people just like pop in. I mean, all this is in there quite a bit. There's a new villain team called the Masters of Evil who consist of all the Avengers' biggest villains, but it's the worst possible versions of them from the multiverse. And they have teamed up. They're pretty awesome, I have to say. That team is very cool. And right off the bat, they do some killing and show you how effective they are. There is Khazar as the Savage Herald of Galactus. There is She-Hulk defending herself in court. Because if you've read the last few issues of what she's been going through, so she defends herself in court, which is cool. There's even a backup story where Thor saves a young man back in history who may himself become a mythological figure with his own great weapon. So, I mean, I'm not joking. My head was spinning by the end of this. There is so much thrown into this issue. It's ridiculous. It's like reading 4 comics. So, very cool. That's
looking
about
through it
what
too.
I gotta say
saw
on
some characters that we had seen from Heroes Reborn.
That's right.
And so
Heroes
those are
Reborn,
not gone either.
So correct. The Squadron Supreme members are in it, and they do bring up the Heroes Reborn stuff. It's still a thing. It's
That's
still being
awesome.
talked about. Yeah. So here is I got some variants to show you. Here is the McGinnis variant with the villains on it. You know, we have our A cover, and then the variant with the villains on it. So they go really well together.
Of course, Doom is like, I got to be on both covers.
Yeah. Oops. Almost got confused. And then we have this great Ron Lim She-Hulk cover. We have the Infinity Saga movie variant that they've been doing for a lot of them. Then we're still doing Deadpool's 30th anniversary with a Rob Liefeld variant. And then lastly, we have this really nice, almost looks painted to some degree, Carnero Stormbreaker variant with Vision and Scarlet Witch staring deep into each other's eyes.
Yeah, when I looked through that book, I was like, this could be
wild.
The most chocked full, like, there's no wasted space in that book.
Yeah.
It is all content, corner to corner. So, my next one is one I will only briefly talk about because I have not completely caught up on this series, but I had to check out the final issue, even though that goes against everything I believe in, to flip to the back of the book to see what happens. But this one's big. This is Daredevil 36. This is the final issue of this award-winning run by Chip Zdarsky. And what's big about this is the kind of last thing before we get to Devil's Reign, the big event, the big Daredevil event coming up soon. And this one, it's cool because in this whole, quite a while, Matt Murdock has been in prison.
Right.
And in this one, he finally gets to talk to Elektra about why did you become Daredevil? Why did you think we needed to have a Daredevil in the city and everything? So that's a really cool moment in this. Also, this is a big wedding issue between Typhoid Mary and Kingpin. You know, love blooms in the strangest of places. But that is also pretty interesting because, you know, that's not going down normal. And we get a hint at the end about what Kingpin's plan is for the events in Devil's Reign. And, of course, a big ad at the end for it where he is going to reveal... he has a folder. He has file folders, physical file folders, that you'll have to see. Like, it's good to see that he has some physical media that he keeps around with all of his best notes in it. But that is Daredevil 36.
I'm interested to know if Elektra's going to stay Daredevil, or if her and Matt Murdock are like, hey, you can only be Daredevil another month, then it's back to me.
Well, you'll have to see on one of these variants. I also wish in this, Daredevil actually has a beard while he's wearing his suit, and I think that should just be the new look for Daredevil. Not enough bearded heroes wearing cowls. We also have the Cabal Stormbreakers variant. Daredevil and Elektra. And then this one is, Marvel's been doing these foreshadowing variants that's kind of giving you a hint of what's coming up. And in this one, look, both of them are still Daredevil. So that gives you a little bit of hint about Matt Murdock may feel kind of okay with there being another Daredevil out there. Also, look at that giant Kingpin head. That's like life-size. Creepy.
Okay, so there is a new independent book from Ablaze out tomorrow called Animal Castle. So if this seems reminiscent of Animal Farm, the George Orwell book, there is a reason for that. It is definitely a play on it. So that appeals, I guess, to anyone who likes that book. But also, if you like stray dogs and you like your animals down and dirty, you might want to check this out as well. So, like Animal Farm, it is about animals who can talk, and they're all living together, except instead of a farm, they're living in a castle. And it's explained pretty quickly at the beginning. The castle was made by humans, but the humans are gone. Not really said exactly why. They do address it, but you won't really know why. And so since the humans have been gone, the animals have been living how they want. There's all different types of animals, birds and goats and dogs. Our main character, though, is a cat. Her name is Miss B, and she is the last cat in the castle except for her kittens, who she's trying to protect. And so being that she's a cat, she's a pretty useful creature. Cats are one of the greatest predator. They're just, they're awesome. If you have a cat, you know how awesome cats can be. So this is a class system thing. So there's the farm sort of down below, and the animals that are there are not treated very well. They work more than the ones who live in the castle, and the ones who live in the castle, there is a ruler. They're doing much better, and so it's a whole class struggle thing. So Miss B, the cat, the castle people like her. She's useful, and they want her to kind of be on their side. But all her friends are from the lower fields, and so right away she has a big dilemma. The other thing I'll say about this book, it is not for children. This is a bloody book. And for those of you who like stray dogs, it's almost a flip side. Whereas, it's like, oh, the nice stray dogs, they're so cute and cuddly. The dogs in this are the main defenders of the king. And when he says bite, that's like a line of dogs rushing the animal, and you get to see what the results are of it. It's a very bloody book. There's a revolt that goes on by the end of it, and just a really, really dark, messed up ending. So I think it's a strong first issue out the gate. We'll see if people who are interested in stray dogs, maybe you're interested in this.
Yeah,
we'll see. So we got a few variants on this. Here is the Galep variant, and then we have this 1 in 10 Virgin variant that we're selling for $20. We have the 1 in 20 Virgin of the Galep variant we're selling for $25. And of course, if they're going to do 1 in 20, they're going to go on to do a 1 in 30 line art variant for the Galep. That is $35 is what we're selling it to our customers for.
It's a shame we didn't get a fleece variant cover.
Yeah,
that would have been great to see.
Yeah, maybe for a future issue.
Yeah, when this explodes like dogs. So my next one is another one that could have been the big book of the week to show off first, but there's so many of those. This is, let's get the whole title, Gotham City Villains Anniversary Giant #1. So this is another one of those oversized DC anthology type books. And this one, of course, has kind of made the news because the first story in it is about the Penguin, written by the Penguin himself, Danny DeVito.
Wah, 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 wah.
He's gonna bite your nose off, and he's got the little flipper hands. And the art is by Dan Mora. So I mean, talk about a beautiful story. I talked about this a little bit when we did the Comics from the Future about this, because I had read the Penguin story at that point. It feels a little bit of wish fulfillment of, in this, Penguin and Catwoman are an item. And she is just the most beautiful Catwoman, and he looks like the Penguin from Batman Returns. But she still loves him. So this is, it's funny. This is definitely not the greatest Penguin story ever told. Danny DeVito definitely has some ideas he is trying to get across in here that I don't know. It's fun, and it's fun knowing that he wrote it. The art is great. Would I necessarily want to see him on a Penguin ongoing series? Probably not. But there's a lot in this that I'm glad they let him tell the story he wanted to tell. If you want all the details, you got to read it, because this is a crazy story. But that's kind of the big selling point of this issue, was that story. But along with that, we have stories about Scarecrow, and we have it's Scarecrow and Nightwing. We have a Poison Ivy story by G. Willow Wilson. We have a Red Hood story, and another really big one in this is the Talia al Ghul story that is in continuity. A few of these are actually in continuity. The Mad Hatter story at the end, it says, see Arkham City, the book going on right now. But the Talia one is actually a lead-in to a event that is kind of revealed here that is called Shadow War. And I was reading stuff about people piecing together all the stuff that maybe the stuff in Deathstroke Inc. is leading to Shadow War. The stuff in Robin is leading to that.
I'll be talking about that a little later.
So that's actually a kind of a big thing to have in a... It's the last story in this book, but it teases this next big story arc that seems like it's going to kind of cover the whole Batman universe. So that is the Villains Anniversary Hoopla Big Ball of Fun book #1. There is, of course, many variants for it. So first off, we have the Savage Poison Ivy, which is beautiful. We have the Frank Quietly, drawing the most wrinkly penguin you've ever seen.
The exact opposite of the last variant.
We have, this is, I believe, this is the Dan Mora. This one's really cool. There's actually a Red Hood story in here, but it's not Joker Red Hood. It's who was Red Hood before Joker took it on. And then we have, sure I got this one right. Yeah, this is the Frederici with Talia and Rafe. Oh, and then finally, because the hits keep coming, this is the 1 in 25 Matina variant. It's kind of hard to see, but a lot of characters on there that we are selling for $30.
All right, so a great read this week was the Nightwing Annual, and the cover already shows you the two main characters you'll be reading about in it, Nightwing and Red Hood. So the story begins with Nightwing and Oracle have been given some video footage taken off of a body cam of an FBI agent showing Red Hood, or who could possibly be Red Hood, it looks like Red Hood, gunning down a criminal. Now, Red Hood, a little while back, has given up guns. Mm-hmm. So that's surprising. But, you know, in the past, it's not that surprising.
Yeah, it's not out of the question.
He used to kill villains. So right away, that's a big problem. And Nightwing sets up sort of a meeting with him. So that's sort of what's going on in the present. But we get some really good stories from the past. So the past stories is we get to see some of their relationship when they were younger, back when Jason Todd was Batman's Robin understudy after Dick Grayson had been fired from it. So Dick Grayson's obviously older than him. Well, Batman's away, and Alfred concocts sort of a reason for Dick Grayson to come by. And even though Jason Todd kind of doesn't like him, he's like, "Hey, you're the guy that Batman's always comparing me to, and he's mean and all this." Dick Grayson kind of sees what's going on, and so he takes him out in the Batmobile with Batman not knowing, and they go on patrol together. So I've just never seen them of this age interacting.
Yeah.
I think it's a very just uncommon story to see that. And so, of course, they do the Robin thing, which is discussing what it's like being Robin. But it goes further than that. In fact, the theme of the story is brothers are supposed to keep each other's secrets. We really get to see some early bonding between the two of them that then relates back to the A story as to, does Dick Grayson trust Jason Todd now or not? So that's probably the most I should say about this. But a really good issue, really well written, excellent annual for Nightwing this week. And we have the Max Dunbar variant. So used to the Jamal Campbell variant, it was like, oh, a different person doing a variant this time.
Is Nightwing wearing his blue suit when he's
wearing his Teen Titans outfit?
That's all I want.
They got it right.
So next up, another one I'll just briefly mention, because if I was to go into detail and you hadn't been reading this book, your brain would explode. This is Department of Truth number 14. So this is a big issue. Because this, as was kind of teased, is maybe the origin of the Lady in Red.
That's right.
So, like with anything with this book, you can take it with a grain of salt if this is the truth or not. So much of this stuff is so much of the manifestation of people's thoughts of what's going on. So, I'll even say the story about her origin is told from a man who seems to be insane. Is kind of going crazy. So you can believe it or not. There's some pretty big revelations about the kind of history of UFOs and all of this stuff that's been going on in Department of Truth. Maybe where it all started. What was kind of the catalyst that brought all of these conspiracy theories to life. It's pretty crazy, all the characters it involves. It's got, like with the best parts of Department of Truth, sprinkled in some actual fact about people and what they were into and stuff, some real historical figures, and then taking that and running with it. So this is a pretty big issue if you've been following Department of Truth. I would say for Department of Truth, it's probably one of the quickest reads. But it was a good one. I'll be interested to see what comes next, because it seems like they're answering a lot of questions pretty fast. I'm wondering what's the long-term Department of Truth.
Even if that's not the true origin of Lady in Red, we need to get something out there.
Exactly, yeah. And the origin that's given is just crazy. So you'll have to see. There is also the variant for it as well.
All right, there's 2 Death of Doctor Strange books this week. I'm going to talk about the first one. It is Death of Doctor Strange, Spider-Man. This is the one-shot that shows the fallout that Spider-Man has to endure because Doctor Strange is dead, and so all the things he's protecting are now becoming unprotected. By Spider-Man, we're talking about Ben Reilly, though. So Death of Doctor Strange is written by Jed MacKay. Black Cat is written by Jed MacKay. And guess who wrote this? Jed MacKay himself. So the person who's sort of over all the Death of Doctor Strange stuff wrote this one. And of course, he's got to put in his, and one of my favorite characters that he writes, Black Cat. So in this, Ben Reilly is contacted by Doctor Strange from beyond the grave, because Doctor Strange has set up certain things that happen upon his death. And one is sort of a, hologram ghost of him appearing saying, hey, Spider-Man, you're the only one that can do this stuff. I've lifted you. He literally leaves him a list of things he needs to do. He's like, here are the things you need to do. You're the best here to do it. Good luck. I'm dead. Well, Black Cat is there because at the time Ben Reilly was visiting Peter Parker, who is still in the hospital. And Black Cat sees what happens, and she's angry. She does not believe Ben Reilly should be calling himself Spider-Man. She doesn't think Ben Reilly is half the Spider-Man Peter is. So she goes with him to watch him fail. That's what she tells him. So, of course, he needs help. She's going to throw in a little bit. And they're going to discuss who is Spider-Man? What does it mean? Is it okay for him to be calling himself this because he legally has the right to? Black Cat does not let up one little bit. Jed McKay is really good with her dialogue, and she is very cutting. So the question is, by the end of this, is there any way Ben Reilly can possibly prove to her that he deserves the mantle Spider-Man? You will just have to see. So above average one shot for something that, with these events, they always do the one shots. The question is it worth it or not? This one was worth it.
I feel like when the one shots are written by the person doing the main series, that's a good indication that it's going to be important.
Yeah, that is very well said. And so this is the variant. This is the Antonio variant. I just like seeing heroes hang out when, one doesn't really like the other.
Yeah.
You get that,
And that she has
dialogue.
a relationship with Spider-Man, but not that Spider-Man is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So, my next one is Captain Marvel. This is Captain Marvel number 34. Just want to show this one off because we know the next issue is the big one that has like a 1 in 200 variant and a bunch of like spoiler variants where they blacked out the cover. After reading this one, I maybe have a idea of what's going to be on that cover, and it's interesting. So you'll have to check this out. You'll see with one of the variants what my initial thought was going to be the spoiler, but it was a variant that everyone saw. But this is the last of the Marvels story arc, and it's bringing in a lot of the Captain Marvel, all that lore. So if that gives you any indication. And then the variant, the Art Germ variant, of course. Who's that?
Yep, I've been seeing a lot of art of classic Captain Marvel around.
Yes, so that gives you a little hint, but also, there's been a lot of different versions of Captain Marvel. There's Captain Marvel, Marvel, Binary, a lot of different ones that you'll have to read this to see. But I feel like the next one is going to be a pretty big issue.
All right, another awesome read. I'm always so happy to read Robin. Was the Robin Annual this week. I mean, just look at the cover. The cover just shows exactly. It's like effortless fun that the people who are writing this are having. So in this issue, first off, it tells you right off the bat it takes place before Robin number 6. Now, Robin number 6 is where the tournament started. So it's before the tournament starts. And this is largely a flatline origin story, but so much more than that. The reason is Robin, he finds a way where he can tap into Batman's computers and get sort of a dossier on each of the other fighters. So we never knew he had this. We've already seen the tournament.
Yeah.
And this is going back and going, Robin had actually this extra information. So, of course, the first person he looks up is Flatline. And that's what the larger part of the story is on. You get Flatline's actual origin and power set, finally. You get to know what her power is, where she got it from. It's a very interesting origin. I like it a lot. I like her as a character a lot. There, she's a really good foil for Robin, because as dark as she is, she's a lot brighter and sunnier than he is. Even though she has every right to not be, considering her powers are so linked in with death. So I liked her origin a lot. On top of that, though, Robin gets to look at the dossier of some of the other characters like XXL. There's several others that get a page or two where you get to read who they are, what they've done, how many confirmed kills they have. So just a really good issue. To me, that's what annuals are for. Like, you can do some side stuff that enriches the rest
Yeah.
of the series. And I think they did it really well in this one. And then, yes, this ended. You already brought it up. See, we don't talk a lot. We're busy reading, so I didn't know you had read about this. But yeah, it ends with a precursor to this whole Shadow War thing. The precursor in this has to do with Talia and Ra's al Ghul. So I'm guessing what Shadow War is going to be. I think it may have a lot to do with the various League of Shadows, League of Lazarus. Obviously, it'll bring in some Gotham people, but that's my guess. I think it's going to be a Leagues thing, but we'll just have to see. So there is a variant for this by Crystal Kung, but our variant is sold out. So,
well, my next one is a really cool one. Who's ready for Halloween? Oh, wait. Sorry, Teen Titans Academy number 8. You missed the deadline by a couple weeks. But this is still really fun. I'll take a Halloween issue at any point. And this one is actually kind of a big thing. So just in the first page, we get a first in continuity, I guess, appearance of a character. And it's not really a spoiler to say that it is Primer. Primer is a character who was the lead in one of DC's young adult graphic novels, kind of a young reader graphic novels. Her stuff all deals with like paint and everything. Looks like she is joining Teen Titans Academy, which is really cool because I think with a lot of those books we saw coming out, it's like, oh, these are new characters, but it's weird to just kind of have them come out of nowhere. Usually it's the other way around. You know, we get a young reader Batman book because Batman's been over here. This is the other way around. But she looks like she is joining the team, and she's talking to another new character who I don't believe their book is even out yet. So this could actually be the first appearance.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because I haven't seen the book come in yet. Named Whistle, and her dog Leibowitz. And they are also characters that are having a kind of young reader graphic novel coming out soon. So they're actually pulling in a couple of these younger characters in here, which is really cool. So some first appearances, at least, outside of a graphic novel, which, sometimes they consider that a first appearance, but those are printed and reprinted so much. It's people more look to the actual issue that their first appearance is in. So that is big in this. Also, there is an actual throwdown between the Titans and Red X. You get a lot of interesting Red X things, and maybe one of his powers that, to this point we didn't even really know what can he do. Well, it looks like he did something to Cyborg, and you'll have to read it, check that out. Also, this is not just a Halloween one-shot. Something happens at the end involving the H dial, the hero dial from Dial H, that looks like it's going to be going to pretty fun places going forward. So that is Teen Titans Academy number 8, the spooky Halloween issue in late November.
Halloween for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Okay, so the other Death of Doctor Strange one shot out this week is White Fox. This one has a very surprising ending. I actually, when I finished reading it, I told Andy the ending. I was like, I can't believe they did this in this issue. So I'll tell you a little more without ruining it. But, Marvel set up the Agents of Atlas, and they set up Tiger Division. Tiger Division is a South Korean superhero team. It's got Taegukji, it's got Luna Snow, it has White Fox, and then you have Agents of Atlas, which of course is Swordmaster, Arrow. Both teams have more characters. They are both back in this. All those characters are a big deal. Marvel's trying to make their universe international. When Doctor Strange dies, it can't just be the Avengers flying everywhere doing it. Instead, they want a superhero team. They want Winter Guard out in, Russia, and they want Tiger Division in South Korea, and they're trying to build it up bit by bit. And it's happening. It is a thing. It's going on. And so I'm happy to say that all this is in this issue. So the story, though, is there's a fox or a fox spirit that has been killing people in South Korea ever since Doctor Strange's death. So White Fox actually ends up teaming up with one of the agents of Atlas, Swordmaster, and they go after this creature that may have something pretty significant to do with her past. So a lot of White Fox's origin is told in this. And but what I will say more than anything is there's a fairly major new hero's death in this book towards the end. And not just a death, but something else happens that's important to a particular weapon that leaves me thinking this is not over. It can't be over. Like, I was shocked by it. I was like, what? And I told Andy, I'm like, this happened. And it's not like one of these, is it vague? Like, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. It did. So this has a real surprising hero death in it that I don't think we've heard the last of. And I'm kind of racking my brains over, okay, where is this going to come back up?
Yeah, and we heard anything
normal
about
Marvel
this
book. So, yeah, if check it out and read it for yourself, see what you think. And then we've got some really beautiful variants for this. Here is the Peach Momoko variant. And here is the In-hyuk Lee variant.
Real quick, I forgot to show this off before, but we do have a 1 in 25 Bianchi Captain Marvel variant. We are selling for $35. But also, next, we have Joker Annual. So, another James Tynion book. He's writing this one along with, I believe, Matthew Rosenberg is doing this with art by Frank Avila. And this is cool. So, throughout the kind of run on Joker, we've had stories here and there that go back in time to Commissioner Gordon and Joker's early run-ins. And this one is cool because it's I don't know, it's not as heavy as some of the other ones. It feels a little bit more like classic Joker, where we see what Joker does, how he manipulates other villains. And in this one, Catman, which I'm a big Catman fan. If you've read Secret Six, you know how great of a character Catman is. But Joker is doing some stuff to kind of set up Catman. And when Catman questions, like, why are we doing this? And Joker's like, I think it'd be really funny. And he's like, there's not, like, any money involved. We're not robbing anything. He's like, no, it's just really funny. Which I really like. I like that kind of chaotic Joker that, like, that's enough for him. But also, this is dealing with maybe... I think they confirmed it early on in this series, that Gordon knows that Barbara is Batgirl. Right. But this is kind of his first inklings of, hey, we just got a call. I've got to go make sure Barbara's okay in her room. Why is she not here? Then he gets to the site. Oh, Batgirl's here. And him starting to put together those pieces, which is really cool. I kind of like him knowing. You would think a father would know a daughter, even, with a tiny mask on her face, that's her. But it's a fun issue. Of course, it's an annual, so it's a bit oversized. And yeah, it's kind of doesn't have a whole lot of like big impact to the overall Joker ongoing story, but it's still, I love some of these older stories with Gordon and Joker at their prime. And I believe we're out of the variant, if there was one. I didn't even see one.
All right, so I read Wonder Girl number 5. Beautiful cover and beautiful interior art on this. So this begins with Wonder Girl. She is in Olympus, and she's being given an offer by Hephaestus. Hephaestus is offering her eternal life, but you gotta do what I say, you know? So eternal
Classic.
life, but sort of eternal servitude as well. Well, let's just say Yara Flor isn't real happy with that, and a big battle takes place, a big escape scene, and during it though, Yara loses two things that are important to her. So she doesn't come out very unscathed in this. Two important things that she cares about, she loses. Elsewhere, though, so while that's going on, elsewhere, somebody else is learning that there is a third tribe. So you got the Amazons, you got the Beta Migdal, and there is now a third tribe called the Esquisita. So we get to see their home city of Akahim in this issue. So this is first stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
And these, I think they're Yara's people. They at least seem to declare she's
Claim
with them.
her.
And they have a war plan for once they get her back. So this is all moving towards something pretty big. I brought this up to Andy before the show, and we were talking about this all seems to be figuring in towards this upcoming Wonder Woman event. And it's looking like some big war possibly between the different factions.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're just now learning there's a third one as of this issue. So pretty eventful issue of Wonder Girl. Here is the Jenny Frison variant. Frison did all those incredible Wonder Woman variants, and now she's using that same style for Wonder Girl.
Okay, my next one is Amazing Spider-Man number 80. And mostly I just want to show this one because this is a great cover. And it's a little reminiscent of the interiors, not as cartoony, but we saw in the last one that Craven has kind of dosed Ben Reilly with something, and this is a lot of like hallucinations and weird stuff going on. But there's also a little backup story where we see that maybe Doc Ock is coming into play with this. I like how Ben Reilly's kind of going through all of Peter's villains a rapid style and learning how to deal with them. So that is the A cover for that. And then we have the RB Silva variant, which is really nice.
All right, so Detective Comics Annual, because, you know, there weren't enough DC annuals out this week. So this says it is prelude to Shadows of the Bat. I think Shadows of the Bat is going to be the weekly Detective Comics event that's going to be all about Arkham Tower.
Mm-hmm.
So some of that is in this. What this one's about is Batman teams up with Nightwing to try to chase down this character called the Meager Man. His name is Peter Faust. And this is a criminal who had a run-in with the Waynes, you know, almost like similar to, you know, the Waynes, we know the famous story of them getting killed possibly by the Joker. And, well, this is before that. And this criminal, like, he's stealing blood from a blood bank, and he gets shot by cops and goes out a window and lands by the Waynes, and he tries to attack them. And so it's just some more Wayne history we didn't know about. But he was supposed to have died in Arkham years ago. Well, somebody's doing his MO. Somebody's doing his stuff. So Batman and Nightwing have to try to find out who this person is. Is it him? Is it not? You know, Nightwing has to find out how does Bruce know about this person. So that's generally what this issue is about. The other side to it is people are talking with Lucius Fox about getting funding for Arkham Tower. And you get to hear what it's going to be like a little bit, particularly how it's supposed to be more rehabilitation than any sort of a prison. It sounds a lot softer. Now, as much as prisoners escaped Arkham, I'm really surprised they're going that way. So, but that's what else is going on, Detective Comics Annual. And then we've got this awesome variant This is a Fabok variant.
Cool. Next up, we have Justice League Dark Annual. Which, with this one, I will say, if you have been reading Justice League in the backup story, that's the Justice League Dark story, you'll definitely want to pick this one up because it does kind of conclude that story, involving Merlin and all the Justice League Dark characters. But if you haven't read any of the Justice League Dark, this is kind of the end of that story, so not necessarily the best jumping on point, but a nice kind of capstone to the backup story that's been going on. But the other one I wanted to talk about is Wonder Woman Annual, which this one was very interesting. This is probably the most tied into Wonder Woman Trial of the Amazons, which is the event we know is coming next year. This is probably the biggest kind of hint to what that's going to be about. So in this, a character shows up asking for Wonder Woman at her work. Basically, you know, she's in disguise as Diana Prince, and this character knows it's her, and he's very odd. And she's like, "Okay, basically, we can talk. Just be quiet." And he goes on to tell her all this stuff about stuff she didn't know about Themyscira. And it's definitely leading me to think that that is going to be maybe one of the battlegrounds of the upcoming fight, because maybe before the Amazons, somebody else was on that island before them. And I don't know. Let me see. What was his name? It's somebody the Survivor. I can't find my notes on it, but it's really cool. And he kind of talks to Wonder Woman and reveals all this stuff about it. I won't reveal it because this is kind of it feels like an important issue, a really cool issue. There is a lot of action in it as well, but some seeds of doubt are being laid in Wonder Woman about the Amazons. We all work as a unit. We're strong together, and he kind of alludes to there may be some cracks in that, and some other groups that may be going up against each other. And after you were talking about that one with the new tribes of Amazonians and stuff, it's like, oh, I feel like this is a maybe a hint to what the kickoff point of this war is going to be, is who's really claiming that kind of rightful places as the true Amazons and all that. Not sure all the details because it's still pretty vague. This is just a lead-in, but a very good issue with Wonder Woman Annual.
Okay, so I read Human Target #2. So as Christopher Chance, the Human Target, is trying to figure out who is trying to kill Lex Luthor and who is presently killing him. If you read first issue, you'll understand that. If you didn't, you'll have to check that out to see what I mean by presently killing him. He ends up getting a visit from ICE, from the Justice League International, because a lot of his investigation in issue 1 is pointed towards this has something to do with Justice League International. So we get a lot of ICE's origin story, which is a character I'm not terribly familiar with. So that was really interesting, done in your traditional Tom King way, where he's not just going to tell it flatly, he's going to tell it in his own style. Ice and Christopher Chance, they end up going to the beach because anywhere Ice is, it gets colder and colder. Mm-hmm. So he takes her somewhere that's pretty warm to begin with. He of course asks where her partner Fire is, and you get to find that out. And by the end of the issue, let's just say Guy Gardner comes under suspicion. So I'll tell you, I have watched a lot of noir detective PI movies. I've read books about it when I was younger, and this is so very, very noir PI. It's just dripping with all that. So if that's your thing, you should definitely read Human Target. And then we have the variant. Here's the other connecting variant that connects with the one from last issue. You get to see all the Justice League International people together in the room.
I guess my final thing is to go over some of these variants that came out. A book I did not get a chance to read, but I know has a big fan base out there. Evil Ernie is back from Dynamite, and there's some really big variants. So we have, as they've been doing, the Ninja Turtles homage variants. This is the black and white 1 in 11 variant. We're selling for $15.
And we do have available, there's the non-black and white, there's the colored one, and that's just cover price.
Yeah.
I don't know if it made our piles right here, but
Yes, here we go. Here it is. The colored version, as in there's some blue on it.
A little bit of blue, a little red up there, the Evil Ernie.
Yeah. So there's that one. We have the 1 in 10 Brett Booth variant. This is the black and white version. We're selling for $10 of, do I have the, I don't have the main one, but it is, here's the virgin copy of it. This is the 1 in 25 Booth that we're selling for $15. That one's really cool. Then we have the 1 in 20 Studium variant. We're selling for $10. Let's see, do I have any more Evil Ernie? Yes, of course. Because then there is this one, the Amazing Spider-Man 300 homage cover, where you get to find out all the characters that can stretch like Spider-Man and get their leg way up there. This one's cool because instead of like the 300s in the background, it's all 6s. And
in a few weeks, they're doing the Army of Darkness one where Ash
Ash
is in that
pulling
position. And instead of web, he's got his chainsaw.
Yeah. So, do you have any more?
I do.
Okay,
so,
then I'll go over my last one.
I just want to talk real quickly. So also out this week is the latest Darkhold book, Darkhold Black Bolt. I had way too many things to go over, but just wanted to make sure people knew this is out. The Darkhold books have been really awesome reads, seeing into the minds of madness of people, heroes who've looked into the Darkhold. There's 2 more after this. I think Darkhold Spider-Man and then Darkhold Omega. And that did have a variant. This is the Casanovas variant.
Also, I missed, there's a couple more Evil Ernie covers. This is the Sager cover. This is the 1 in 7. You have all those fun Dynamite ratio numbers.
They got to be different.
That we are selling for $10. And there is also the black and white 1 in 11 McFarlane homage cover. We're selling for $15. And then the other cool one they're doing this week is Jennifer Blood is getting the Ninja Turtles treatment. It's time with a little bit of red on there. I know a lot of people are picking up all of these Ninja Turtles homage ones.
We overordered because I knew it's like halfway through this.
Yeah.
People are still going to be like, can I have all the other ones that released weeks ago?
And then there is the black and white version that we're selling for $15.
So another local comic shop day book that did not make it out in time is Task Force Z #2, the foil, it's red foil local comic shop day variant. So this was supposed to be here for local comic shop last week. We got a notice from DC's distributor saying, sorry, it's going to be a week late. So this is out now for anyone who wants all the local comic shop day stuff. Come on back out for it. It is available now. And that is our massive, massive show for this week. I need to go get a drink of water at this point.
I know. It's a lot, and it's a lot of big things. It's a lot of things that need mentioning without spoiling things. But man, there was a lot to talk about. And if we did do spoilers, it would be another hour.
I know. I hope we have done our job in telling you what each of these books is about, telling you the important sort of facets to them without spoiling too much, and that you are prepared to look at all the new stuff. I mean, our shelves are just chock full of stuff, and hopefully you have the information now to know what you want and what you don't want. So, all right, well, we'll be back on Friday with comics from the future. So until then, go read some comics and have a great rest of your day.